One of the neat things about the community forest that is totally different from the industrial model is we're not focused on making 2x4s. We're focused on creating a strong community.
Community forestry means something different in every community.
All community forests are different, and how they operate is going to depend upon the communities they're in, as well as the forests around them.
There's a change in BC's forests and forest communities. It's a change that's good for the forests, good for the people who live and work in forest communities, and good for the buyers and users of wood.
The ecological capital around you is something that is your living space. It's also the sustenance for your families, water, recreation, clean air, all those things people are conscious of. And the fact that they have more control over it than they've had in the past only has positive results.
Because you're managing for the benefit of the community, you have a higher level of accountability to the people around you, your friends, your neighbors. You're managing for them, you're managing for their children, you're managing the land base around their community in a very specific, very personal kind of way.
Community forests are the farmer's market of the forest industry. We manage for wildlife, water, and biodiversity.
We saw it as imperative that we have control over what happened in our backyards.
Even in today's markets, we have a little bit of an advantage because of our ability to specialize on different products, whereas the larger mills can't, and I think that's why we are running today and a lot of mills aren't.
Most of these small rural-based economies are contracting. And so what this does is it's a growth industry.
What the community forest does for us is generates us the revenue to diversify our economy, and all communities in BC could benefit from having a community forest and generating a little income into their community and spending on what's near and dear to their heart.
There's a diversity of ways that you can go about managing forests, and what we'd like to see is what we feel, in fact, in the community forest movement and the sustainable forest movement in Canada. We feel like we're one player of in a growing community of practitioners who are showing what can be done on the ground and doing things a somewhat different way.
What a community forest does is it delinks the woodlands from the larger mills and makes us a true log market. So our business is harvesting responsibly and then selling wood on the open market.
Community forests and value-added enterprises are a good fit. Whether it's specialty mills, log house builders, furniture makers, or woodworkers, more jobs come from each cubic meter of wood. And there's strength in diversity.
I think we're going to go back to the old days where you'll see 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 little mills instead of these one big super mill towns, and it lends to more diversification for the forest.
There was always a natural connection between construction and forestry that we lost over the decades, over the centuries. We're trying to bring that connection back and actually have a relationship between the woodworker and the forester.
They're providing you with a product that nobody else cares about, basically. I mean, you're not pulling into any sawmill in Williams Lake and asking to buy $200 worth of clear vertical grain fir. They don't have it. If they do sort it out at all, it's going to a special market that's pre-bought, basically. You're not getting anything like that unless you have some kind of relationship with the local producer, and if you want to refer to it as a farmer's market, that's probably appropriate.
And we're looking for those small to medium-sized companies to come to McBride to set up. They don't want to be interested in running the woodlands. They just want to be able to buy the raw material, buy the product, manufacture their product, and market it.
More value from the wood, more jobs, stronger communities, a better quality of life.
Our local users, they have an advantage of buying from us, and that advantage is that they can come out to the forest and pick the actual trees that they want, and they can pick it either for form or for structure, and so they get the best value out of the tree that they pick versus going and buying one at a local dryland sort and they get what they're given.
Just depends on who the customer is, but sometimes they're so into where the wood comes from that we'll provide them with a map of where it came from, photos, and a story as to the tree's journey.
We're predominantly local business that's supplying a local market. People do appreciate that we're using a resource that comes out of their own backyard.
Everywhere from the loggers to the sawyers, everybody involved in the production of the raw material was somebody from the Caribou, and that is important. People like to know that. So it's just a local flair which helps the local economy.
One of the things we do to try and encourage some of our smaller 1, 2-man, 3-man logging operations is we have what we call our small market logger program, where we basically sub-license these individuals to go into an area and selectively harvest products. What they're looking for is more specialty products. They're looking for house logs. They could be looking for tone wood for guitar makers. They could be looking for just a variety of different products.
When this company operates with a conscience and with a definite goal in mind of benefiting the community and not simply making a profit.
The profits from a community forest stay in the community, which makes people healthier, makes people wealthier. It keeps people working, paying taxes. The management is more secure. The fact that your backyard is being managed locally, not by some foreign-owned company.
It's all about communities and local decision-making.
We're managing for, let's say, 7 or 8 different identifiable values. And the only one that pays is timber. And yet the most important values are the values that aren't priced in the marketplace.
Primarily, we're managing for visual quality. We're in a high tourist area. We're highly visible from town. Basically, everything you see from downtown is part of the community forest.
When the jobs and the dollars stay at home, you can do a lot to create other opportunities, like putting in high-speed internet or investing in local mills to create jobs. Some communities use their community forest profits to increase their tourism potential. Others enhance local services, or they create recreation opportunities. Community forests make communities better.
And there's other values in the wood than just the fiber.
The timber isn't the only value out there. It's certainly part of how we've sustained our community forest and how we give benefit back to our community. But there's a bigger picture that we have to look at, and so we make sure that we have our glasses focused to every resource out there. First Nations values are really important, and many areas in our community forest have really high significance to the First Nations.
With the way Aboriginal rights law is going and so on, the question of who owns the resources is really up in the air. In fact, there is shared ownership, and so there has to be more and more shared decision making.
Finally, we can go back to our traditional territory, and finally we can start using the traditional lands to start building our economic base again.
It also gave our First Nations people the ability to work with the non-First Nations community in our area and do joint venture projects which erase a whole bunch of issues that have been going on for centuries. Racism, the ability to know who each other was, and the ability to help each other in hard economic times. So the community forest has been more than just a forest license to us.
If it wasn't for the community forest in this area, I mean, I know myself personally that I'd be done logging, that'd be it, because without them, I just wouldn't survive. So.
Right now, we're trying to plan our next 250 years and what the timber is going to look like, both in structure and products, as well as
leave our options open for future generations, and to make sure that there's a land base and a forest here for them to manage and to benefit from, and to drink the water out of the creeks down the road.
Our main purpose is actually to protect that source of water, as well as all the other values in the forest aside from timber. So timber is a means to an end in terms of protecting our watershed, and sustaining our community forest is part of that picture, part of the package.
It's a matter of imagining what it'll look like and then making plans to achieve those goals.
Everybody wins this way.
There should be more community forests so that all communities can benefit from it.
I don't think there's a forest-based community in British Columbia today that's not looking ahead with some trepidation. But it's also somewhat of an exciting time because we need to find new opportunities. And with any crisis, there is opportunity. And we like to think that we have some opportunities now.
More and more success stories with community forest are going to obligate the government. They're going to empower communities big and small to achieve the same results of taking back control of our own destiny. Taking control back from the land that was given away without our consent. Not just from the Indian side, but from a resident and a taxpayer, and as somebody that's going to live here a long, long time. You can take it back.
Local forests, local people, local decisions. Community forests.